again, George Connolly from Scratch Golf Tips, and today we're going to be talking about 3 chip shots that you need to know in order to get up and down more often around the greens. We're going to go over the fundamentals behind them, how, when you want to use them, and then we're going to look at some PGA Tour players using them in action. Before we get into it, just a quick reminder, feel free to subscribe to the SGT YouTube channel if you're looking to improve your golf game this season. We're posting every couple days, so it's a good way to stay active with all of these videos. All right, so we're going to go over the first shot here. It's the bump and run. Your club selection is going to be as high lofted as a pitching wedge. You can go as low as a 7-iron. Some people even use a hybrid if it's a tricky lie. But you're going to want to have the ball slightly back in the stance, your hands slightly forward. Both of those things de-loft the club, so the ball comes out a little bit lower, hence the bump. And then it's going to be a short chipping motion. You're just going to get it onto the green, and then it's going to roll out. That's the diagram of it. See if the pin is in the back with that red diamond. You're just going to land it somewhere on the green. In order to successfully do a bump and run shot, you're going to want to have a lot of green to work with. So if you just land it, say you're using an 8-iron, it's going to roll out a little bit, and there's not a ton of spin on that ball. So all these shots need to practice just to see how far it's going to roll out on different greens and how much spin you can put on it. But those are the fundamentals behind the bump and run, and then we're going to see Rory McIlroy's from Bay Hill a little bit later on in the video. Second shot is the medium chip. That's kind of for lack of a better term. It's just a pretty average chip. What most people use is anywhere between a 50 and a 56 degree wedge, an approach wedge. In my bag right now is a 52 degree wedge that I do this with. The ball is going to be in the middle of the stance. Your hands are going to be intermediate. There really isn't much change there. And it's a normal chipping motion. Once again, this is just your average chip, medium height, medium rollout. And that's what it looks like. You can land it a little bit further up because the height has the ball land softly, and also because of the slightly longer pitching motion, it will check up and spin a little bit more. Once again, you can experiment with that on a practice green. And then the third one, what a lot of people's favorite one is the flop shot. It's also the most difficult and clearly the most risky. For this, you're going to need at least a 56 degree wedge. I would certainly say higher than 56. I have a 58, and sometimes that doesn't do it. A lot of people have 60s, 62s in their bag. So your highest lofted wedge is what you need for this shot. The ball is going to be a little bit forward in your stance, and you're going to really want to open the club face. And the big key here is you can have a long stroke, and you need to accelerate through impact. It's converse to the other 2 shots. You really need to accelerate through the ball and get it up in the air. Because you're opening the club face, and because the ball is so it's up front in your stance, the ball is going to sky up in the air. So if you do a little chip motion, it's only going to go a couple yards. So you really need to get a big swing, get acceleration, and don't back off of this shot, because if you do that big swing, you kind of come out of it, you're going to thin the ball, and the ball will go 50 yards past the hole. That's the big risk in the flop shot, is if you thin it. Also, if you hit it fat, you're probably going to be in the obstacle that you're trying to flop over. Here's a diagram of it. Just the flop is used for frequently is to get over a bunker. If you're in the rough trying to get over a bunker, if you're in the fairway trying to get over a bunker, you just need to get it over that and then land it. One good thing about the flop is if you can get it pretty high in the air, and if you're hitting from the fairway especially, it's easy to stop this shot. So you can land it fairly close to the hole. Because of its trajectory, it'll land softly, and if you get a good contact with it and you're not in the rough, you can also get a pretty solid amount of spin back on it. I do feel like the flop is overused. A lot of people see Phil do it on tour, and they use it when you can just use a bump and run. A bump and run is a way safer shot. The margin of error on a flop shot is really, really, it's low. There's a lot of error that can happen. On a bump and run, it's pretty easy. And even a bad bump and run, you're still going to get it somewhere closer to the hole than a bad flop where you may be 50 yards away from the hole because you thinned it. But those are the fundamentals in a couple of diagrams. Now let's look at some chip shots on the PGA Tour that demonstrate these well. So first off with the bump and run is Rory's bump and run at Bay Hill. This was an incredible shot last year. This is what helped him win. And a couple things to note here. Short swing, it's back in his stance. but it's important to see where he lands this ball. He lands it just onto the green, right there, and then it rolls out perfectly into the hole. So just know that that ball's going to run out, not a lot of spin, not a lot of check on it. As for the medium chip, we have a good example here from Jordan Spieth. This was a really impressive chip, especially from that lie in the rough. He just kind of takes this chop down hack at it, good trajectory, and lands it right on that fringe softly, and then it barely rolls out into the hole. Perfect control there. Once again, you can see ball is just around the middle of the stance, hands aren't too forward. He just pops it up and he lands it right onto the fringe, which is perfect. It's exactly where he needed to. And the ball is a little bit of check off the fringe, which allows it to just roll right into the hole. So that is the medium chip. And then finally, the flop. This is one of the most famous flops ever. Tiger at the Memorial. He has a crazy lie in the rough, and he has a downhill slope. So this ball is really hard to stop. The announcer actually said it was probably impossible to get it within 5 feet of the hole. And just look at how large a swing he takes here. Takes this big full swing, pops it right up in the air, and then it lands really perfectly. That ball normally wouldn't roll, but that's a crazy downhill, and he can't get any spin out of the rough. And obviously, Tiger makes it and goes on to win the Memorial. But there's a swing again, lands it perfectly right on the edge of the green, and it rolls out. And I'm just gonna play. I'm gonna play that swing back right here. There's a fist bump. Just a big full swing. Don't come off of it. Get nice and under it, and then that's all you need. All right, so those are the 3 chipping shots that you need to know and perfect to get up and down more around the greens. Hope you all enjoyed this video. On your screen on the left, you can have a link to subscribe, and to the right is a video that YouTube suggests for you, so I hope that you can check that out. Thank you for watching. Play well and take care.